Asset tokenization can increase dignity and freedom to individuals, and Stokr is a leader worldwide. Mr. Arnab Naskar, Stokr founder, who also has a legal background, will share more information about this revolutionary financial development.
My name is Arnab Naskar. I am the co-founder and the business lead of Stokr. I am personally educated in the legal background, so I had a professional career in the field of law, which sometimes can be quite boring, but that's what I studied. But I also believe in the technology, and I also fundamentally believe in the philosophies of Bitcoin, and that dragged me into the entire rabbit hole. I also coming from Indian background, so I was born in India, and then I moved to Germany quite early, like I'd say 2015 around, currently based in Berlin. I came to the Bitcoin from the gaming world. So during my college days, I used to play Counter-Strike, which is a very interesting gaming, I would say, environment at that point of time. And I used to convert the gaming keys. So there's in the Counter-Strike, if you there is a specific in-game digital currency called keys if you're playing in the Steam ecosystem. And I was to convert those keys into Bitcoin in order to buy mouse pad and gaming equipment like a good keyboard or good mouse generally, and those kind of things. And I did not had a credit card at that point of time because I was it was back in quite some early in the Indian market. Having a credit card system was quite complex, and you did not get credit card easily. So the only way I can buy something from US was converting the keys to Bitcoin and then getting those items shipped. So that's how I got into Bitcoin fundamentally. So Stokr is a very interesting concept. It came at the time when I was meeting with some interesting people in the German region, and my idea was, if people are trying to bring ICO tokens, which are non-regulated financial assets, and raising capital, why to fear securities law, right? Which is already developed over the years from different markets, right? And I came across with very interesting people like Tobias Seidel, Leonard Ante, Lucas Kramer. And the interesting aspect is all of us shared the same vision that, okay, there is some interesting things happening in the crypto market, but there is lack of innovation in the capital markets. We have seen a tremendous amount of evolution in the payments, how we make the payment, right? We started with checkbook, we saw credit cards coming in, we saw Google Pay, we saw Apple Pay. Now we are seeing Lightning. There's a huge amount of development happened in the payment ecosystem, but nothing that much in that significant level has happened in the capital markets. And the idea is, can we somehow merge these two worlds? Can we merge this the development in the blockchain space as well as the capital market? And that's where the idea of Stokr came in, is to bring back the real ownership idea, ownership of digital securities, ownership of securities in simple sense, back to the investors, and how we can make the process more efficient with less middleman, and also with the more concept of individual self-sovereign ownership. And that's how the idea of Stokr came in back in 2018 when the company was formed. So Stokr is a very interesting platform. We are a Web3 investment infrastructure platform. So we are creating a platform where different issuers, asset managers, founders can come on Stokr, and they can tokenize different kind of financial rights. It can be a debt instrument, it can be equity instrument, and we provide the end-to-end tokenization support for them to tokenize the asset. Once these assets are tokenized, they can use our Stokr marketplace, where they can raise their capital from the investors, or they can also raise the capital from their community of users. And this can be also, they can create a huge community of educated investors who can be also their brand ambassador. But on the other side, we are seeing right now, there's also growth of new generation of investors who can be fund managers, who can be asset managers, and they are looking for, holding those digital securities in tokenized format. So Stokr on one side provides end-to-end solution for asset managers, founders, and everything to tokenize their financial asset. On the other side, we provide a marketplace where investors can come, choose different kind of alternative assets in which they want to invest in, and then they can invest. So in simple sense, we are on one side an end-to-end asset tokenization platform, but we are also a marketplace where investors can invest into those tokenized alternative investment assets. So maybe I will also give a little bit more on this, what is Stokr product. Maybe I can expand a bit because I gave a very high level, and then maybe you can ask me a question like that. Okay, do you have any product lines, or how you divide your product lines this way? And then I can explain a bit. Then I can come to maybe your fifth question then. we have a 3 product line. The first product line that we are providing to the customers is an SME financing product. That means you can think of like as a crowdfunding service, right? Where small and medium-sized companies, growth stage companies, or post-seed stage companies can use Stokr to raise capital and provide them the end-to-end tokenization support for raising capital. The second product line is about tokenization of alternative assets. And in that, Stokr is one of the most successful in the market. We have tokenized Bitcoin mining hash rate with Blockstream, which is one of the most well-received asset tokenization project outside of US. And we not only helping this kind of tokenization of Bitcoin hash rates, but we're also tokenizing music royalties. We are also tokenizing real estate and other kind of alternative assets. And there we see a huge demand in the market at the moment. The third line of business is purely, I would say, institutional focused, where we are tokenizing VC funds or investment funds and alternative investment vehicles, which are fund in simple sense. And these funds can be existing fund. You are trying to tokenize a small portion, raise capital for that small portion, or maybe you have a 600 million worth of fund and you want to tokenize a small portion and you want to bring to a digital asset exchanges. This is also what we can support them. So the third one is kind of a very newly launched product line for us. And all this information you can find on the Stokr platform under the products tab. That's a very important question because the entire idea of Stokr becomes very relevant when you talk about the ownership, and ownership comes with the idea of freedom and the human dignity in precise way, right? But before I explain, let me just go a quick few steps back. I think everybody heard about the GameStop and the entire GameStop event that happened during this COVID time, where you as an investor, you bought GameStop on Robinhood, but when you try to sell them or you want to leave the platform, take your stocks with you, they're not allowing you, right? So that precisely shows that fundamentally in the current capital markets, when you hold the stocks or you hold the securities, you are not having the full ownership of the assets. You're always holding it through certain middleman to certain counterparties. And if those middleman and counterparty does not allow you to move your assets out of the platform, you're locked in. And this is one of the biggest challenges which we see in the current financial market, right? You're relying with so many middlemen and so many intermediaries that if one of them does not allow you to do something, though you're the rightful owner, you cannot do that thing. And this we are seeing everywhere, even with the recent PayPal incident. Also, we saw how much in-depth their influence can be. And Stokr's vision is actually, when as an investor, you invest into financial rights of a company, you should be able to have the ownership of this right. And when I talk about ownership, I talk about full ownership. And that's what Bitcoin showed us, right? Not your keys, not your coins, the same concept, right? You do not like today one exchange, you can go from exchange A, you can go to exchange B. You do not like exchange B, you can take it to your cold wallet or ledger, and then you go to another exchange C. This freedom does not exist in stock market. This freedom, actually, what we are trying to bring is, once these securities are tokenized and you can hold in your blockchain wallet, you can actually choose in which platforms you want to go and where you want to trade. You don't want to go to a centralized exchange. You want to go through a decentralized exchange trading facilities. You can do that. This freedom on this ownership concept does not exist. And that's what I think blockchain provides fundamentally, right? The entire Web3 narrative, to some extent, some people may agree or not agree, but I think what we can all agree to a certain extent, that the idea of ownership is coming back, right? Which idea of ownership that you have in the physical realm, you do not have in the digital realm that much. But with tokenization, I think this is what we can bring, is a real ownership. And that's where Stokr's vision of freedom comes in, because as an investor, you should have the freedom to own your financial assets, and you should have the freedom to choose any platform whenever you want. And this is also the same challenge right now we are also facing with Celsius, right? You have your Bitcoin, you put it the Bitcoin on Celsius, and now Celsius is gone, and you're running after all the bankruptcy procedures, right? That the same freedom which Bitcoin gave you, you sacrifice by putting it back to the platform. And we are to bring back the same freedom again in the capital market, which is not there. So I think this is what I think Stokr's primary role is, bringing the idea of freedom and ownership back to the capital markets, which is currently missing. So 2041 is a very long time down the line, let's be very frank, right? But I think it's a very interesting way, because in the human society right now, we are all running with a very short-term mindset, right? It's all about what I can do in 5 years, 6 years, 2 years, 3 years, right? And this is where I think the fundamental concept of sustainability comes in, right? If you see a bigger picture, a bigger horizon, you see much more in a sustainable lens. If you are seeing from a shorter time frame and you have to do it very fast, yeah, you try to make it some things that can be possible today, but maybe it's not sustainable, right? So for us, the main vision of Stokr is actually opening up the entire way how we invest in the market, and opening up in such a way that bringing back the ownership idea to the investment. There is a huge amount of alternative assets that are stuck in the private markets, which are not traded, which are not being, exchanged on a Nasdaq or London Stock Exchange kind of platforms. So our vision is to bring a huge amount of those illiquid assets, tokenize them, and bring it into the digital asset space so people can get certain amount of liquidity. The second vision is definitely we have is to bring this ownership concept back to the capital markets, right? Is when you're an investor and you are investing in the asset, and maybe you want to invest in for 10 years, 12 years down the line, so you can have the full ownership and you want to give to your friends, you want to give to your families, you want to give to anybody, you can do it on a peer-to-peer basis without paying a middleman for that. This is, I think, one bigger vision. And the third, I think one of the biggest aim that we would like to achieve in this time period is providing an alternative capital market options for SMEs, small and medium-sized companies. These are kind of the backbone of any economy, right? 99% of the companies are not unicorns. They are the SMEs. They are the mom and pop shops. They are, kind of day-to-day bread earning companies, right? And they have a very limited access to raise capital. They can only raise capital by going to bank. They can only raise capital by going to the friends and families. Very few goes for an IPO. Venture capitalists does not invest in that. So I think if tokenization can reduce the cost of capital raise, can open a new alternative way to raise capital, this kind of small and medium-sized mom and pop shops can actually raise capital. And we have done it actually very interesting on Stokr. There is a company called La Boulangerie that's a bakery. It's a French bakery shop in Dubai that raised a capital around $250,000 on the platform. And it's a mom and pop shop that raised capital. It's not a unicorn. It's not something like a crazy imaginary animal. It's a real business, and they share a percentage of revenue to their investors. And we are quite proud, and we would like to support more and more this kind of companies that really contributes to our economy. I think very interesting thing where we see, the policymakers are struggling on their own economic construct at the moment. And this is all we see in the guild and those things, entire economy, right? All this quantitative tightening that they're going through. So I think one thing policymakers definitely can do is let the innovation take its own shape. But on the other side, we also see the downfall of Luna and Terra and those kind of things. So I think there need to be a balance. I think one important thing that policymakers definitely should do is more discussions with the startup world or the innovators of the world rather than staying in silos. And this, I think, definitely they are doing. And also, like CBDCs, let's take an example for CBDCs or central bank digital currencies. As you know, I don't think the policymakers or any regulator is in a very good shape to create their own digital currencies. Ideally, it's better for them to really collaborate with existing players in the market because they have a very strong, sophisticated tech, and regulators have a very strong policy frameworks in mind. And when you connect them to, then you create a technology or a product or a service that really serves certain need and at a very much more efficient manner. So I think policymakers should really try to collaborate with different innovators in the market rather than, trying to shun them down. But on the other side, they should also listen and talk to the industry players. So this is, I think, one advice I would have for the policymakers globally at this stage.